Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So happy Sunday. I hope you're all well. Firstly, I just wanted to thank you so much for the overwhelming response to the vlog that I put up a couple of days ago looking at Birder magazine patterns, and oh wow, I'm just incredibly amazed at how many of you have been struggling with this for so long or have really appreciated that vlog. I'm so pleased that it's been useful for you. And yeah, a few people mentioned about that they would love to see the top made up, or they would love for me to go on and do another follow-up vlog on understanding the instructions and the construction. So I am planning to do that actually, because I thought that it seemed to work so well that I thought it would be a shame just to stop at that point. So my plan is that I am going to film the construction of that particular top. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a sort of follow along with me, so I'll talk you through the instructions, my interpretation of the instructions, and some of the additional techniques that Birder expects you to know, and what I would do in response to that. So watch out for that. I'm hoping to get that done later this coming week. Okay, so today's vlog is a bit more of a chatty one. If you remember back to the vlog before the Birder one, I did say I was going to do a midweek chatter, but like always I procrastinate so much, and I've had a really busy week actually. I've been at work every single day, including yesterday, and I am going to do a locum shift this afternoon as well. And all this relates to the fact that I have handed my notice in at work and I'm leaving in a couple of weeks. Not going to go into that into too much detail, but it's not really worked out. Some of the promises that were made, it's clear that I'm going to happen, that kind of thing. So I am in the fortunate position of being offered 2 jobs, and I'm currently debating which one to take. So I'm not quite sure what to do with that yet, but fortunately, because I can do locum work at the minute, I'm just having a little bit of a break. I've got my holiday to Canada coming up in just over a week's time. I can't believe it's just over a week. I'm just, yeah, so excited. And yeah, I am going to have my holiday and then make a decision while I'm on holiday. So yes, as I say, I've got loads of locum shifts and I'm doing one this afternoon as well. So anyway, this is why I want to get this done now and get it uploaded for you all. So where was I? Oh gosh. Anyway, today's vlog is going to be a bit more of a chattery vlog, and I am also, you will notice by the title of this vlog that I'm going to be talking a little bit about Tilly and the Buttons' new patterns, as well as some other bits and pieces in the sewing community that's been out there this week as well that I thought you might be interested in. So yeah, so let's get started. So the first thing that I'm wearing is this gorgeous new little top, and right, so I'm sure you can now identify this top, or can you? So yeah, this little top I rustled up a couple of days ago, and it's got this lovely overlapped envelope neckline with a high boat neck, yeah, elbow length sleeves, and at the back is this cute little tie detail. Do you recognise it? So you will all know that the new Tilly and the Buttons Romy and, is it Jessa? I think it's Jessa trousers and Romy top or dress were released this week, and I've made this, except it's not the Romy. Let me sit back down and I'll tell you a little bit more. Right then, so yeah, before I start, I just want to say that I love indie patterns and I love indie pattern companies, and when I started sewing, if Tilly and the Buttons hadn't been around, I don't think I'd have managed it, because my image of sewing 5 or 6 years ago was, I'll be honest, little old ladies sat at an old vintage sewing machine, and it was very fuddy-duddy. All the patterns were really, you know, not very trendy, and you know, at that stage in my life that certainly wasn't what I wanted. And I do think the indie pattern community has been absolutely transformational in making sewing fashionable again and exciting to younger people. It's been amazing. You know, the amount of people out there now that are sewing or taking up sewing and being more creative is just fantastic, and that has to be absolutely celebrated. But getting back to this little top, now I have drafted this myself, and I will be completely honest with you, when I saw the new Romy top by Tilly and the Buttons, I did like it. I love the cute tie back detail on the back neckline. I thought that's really quite cute. But you know what, I'm at the stage in my sewing journey, I guess, where I thought, you know what, I'm sure I could have a go at knocking something like that with myself without buying another pattern. And I'm trying to be a little bit more, I've got loads of patterns, okay, and I'm so happy to be supporting indie designers as well as the commercial companies as well, because to be honest, they're not huge companies. But I'm now at the point where I've got loads and loads of patterns, and I am pretty sure that I could probably create 1,000,001 different looks from all the patterns that I have. And on top of that, I also think that I don't want to be buying patterns now that look basic still. I'm all for supporting designers, etc. But I think, you know, give us something different, give us something new that isn't already out there. And yeah, when I saw the new patterns from Tilly and the Buttons, as I say, I do like the tie back detail. But I thought, you know what, I'm sure I could hack that from one of her patterns already. So what I did was I looked at, because I've got the Cocoa pattern, I think it was one of the first patterns that I ever bought, and I thought if I could play around with the Cocoa pattern, I'm sure that I could actually make a version of the Romy myself, and that's exactly what I've done. So I don't feel too bad about that, because I thought that, well, you know, I have actually used one of her patterns but just created a hack from it to hack it into the Romy. So I thought you might be interested to know a little bit more in detail about how I actually did that. Essentially all I did was firstly trace out the pattern pieces for the front bodice, the back bodice. Yeah, that's all I did to start with. And then I raised, so this is my Cocoa pattern piece for the front bodice, and if you can see, this is the original neckline here, and all I did to create the boat neck at the front was raise it by 2 centimeters, and then I narrowed the shoulder seam, because a boat neck is supposed to be quite wide, so I narrowed the shoulder seam and raised the neckline by 2 centimeters. Now you can see that the neckline is actually a bit too high, so this is my first attempt at this, and if I make this again, which I probably will because it's a nice little top, I will probably lower that a little bit more because it is just a little bit high for me, and I've got quite a long neck. So yeah, so that is the only change I made to the Cocoa pattern piece to create the front. Now the back, this is the back piece that I created from the Cocoa, and all I did again was I narrowed the shoulder so that it matched the front shoulder seam, the new seam, and then I've just deepened the curve so that it would create this, you know, the gap here, so that it, can you see that, where it creates like a vest shape? So that's I can't remember the exact measurements that I did, but essentially that's all I did with that. And then to create the envelope bit with the ties on the back, I just drew myself basically a triangle, and what I did was I just measured between, I laid out the front and back pattern piece flat on the table, and then I stuck a piece of paper over the top, looked to where I wanted the front of the triangle bit to attach to the armhole, and the same at the back as well, so that it would still give me that lovely cute detail where you'd get to see a flash of your back behind. And then I just drew that to a point so that there would be enough to actually tie it into a bow at the back. I can't remember the exact measurements of this. And then just played about with it, and then I made myself a bit of a toile to see if it worked, and it did. And the sleeve, I just used the sleeve from the Cocoa pattern, and that absolutely is fine. And yeah, it's not, I don't think it's probably not identical to the Romy, and it doesn't need to be, but I think for me it was just a case, there was 2 reasons why I did this. One, because I thought I've already got the Cocoa pattern, and I think I can hack the Romy, or something to look like the Romy from the Cocoa pattern, without spending money on a new pattern that is something that I could probably do myself. And secondly, it was because I thought I want to test my sewing skills now. There are some patterns coming out now that I think actually I've got something very similar, and maybe if I just play about with seams or move something about a little bit, maybe I can recreate it myself. And I think that's really important when you're sewing and you're learning to sew and you're wanting to advance your skills, that you are actually going to try these things out and not be scared of doing it. At the end of the day, it's just fabric, isn't it? So I'm really, really happy with it. As I say, I do think this is a really nice pattern. You know, and I've saved myself £15, I guess, from not buying the actual Tilly pattern. Not that I don't support Tilly, because I do. As I said, I've used her cocoa pattern. I feel, do you know what? I feel so guilty for this. I'm a member of the Sewing Vlogger support group on Facebook, and it's a group purely for those of us that do have our own vlogs. And yeah, I did put a thing up on there a few days ago saying that I'd hacked a pattern of a pattern that had just been released, and I was really worried about actually discussing it on camera with you guys, because I wasn't sure how people would feel about it. And I feel really bad for this, and I shouldn't feel bad for it, because essentially I've just played about with a pattern, haven't I, to recreate a look. You know, so I'm really sorry, Tilly, that I've not bought your new pattern, but I think that's tempered with the fact that I have used one of your patterns that I have previously bought to recreate this, and yeah, you know what I mean anyway. So I don't know, what do you think, guys? I mean, as I say, I do really like it. It's not identical to the Romy, clearly, because I haven't used the exact same pattern, and it's definitely something I will make again. This fabric, by the way, if I just come closer so you can have a look at it, is it's a gorgeously soft viscose jersey that I got from Guthrie and Garney. I got 1.5 meters of it a couple of months back. Oh, the other thing I did actually as well, because the cocoa, if you remember, is quite fitted around the waist, I just straightened out where the curve for the waistline goes. I just straightened it out a little bit so that it made it a bit looser. But yeah, I don't think it's bad, is it? And I really like it. So it's really given me more confidence to sort of have a go at looking at some other patterns that I really like and really want to buy, but actually having a go at trying to find similar patterns that maybe I already own and have a go at just hacking it, I guess, and seeing what I come up with. So it's quite exciting, isn't it, to be able to develop your skills. Okay, so let's move on from that. A couple of other things that I wanted to share with you this week. I have bought the new Gertie book, Gertie Sews Jiffy Dresses. Now, I used to be, when I started sewing, I was one of the first blogs that I ever found was Gertie's, and I loved her style. I think a lot of us, when we start sewing, we were always drawn to those sort of vintage styles, because it's something that you can't readily buy, and I think that was definitely for me one of the things that really attracted me to sewing, to be able to learn to sew those really gorgeously beautiful vintage dresses that are so feminine and girly. And I did do 2 or 3 of them, and then quickly realised that they just didn't fit into my daily life, and so as my sewing skills developed and I learnt my own style and thought, you know, what's the point spending all this time on sewing beautiful things that I'm not going to wear on a daily basis, I sort of moved away from that a little bit. But actually, when I saw this book was being released, and it's basically based on some old, back in the sort of 50s and 60s, I think, there was a range of sewing patterns out called Jiffy Designs. I'm not sure if it was Simplicity or Style. I think it was Simplicity. And they were basically, as the name says, supposed to be things that you could sew up in a jiffy. Because I'm pretty sure some of those old gorgeous 50s dresses must have taken ages to sew. And yeah, so Gertie has brought out this book with patterns in to recreate some of these dresses that are supposed to be quick and easy to do. And yeah, I really like it. I've not had a great deal of time this week especially, to really have a good read of the book. And I bought it more for the actual patterns. There is a big portion of the book that is dedicated to talking about lots of different things, like there's a section on different fabrics and what they are and how to choose fabrics, pattern tracing, there's bits on different sewing machine feet, seam finishes, facing. So there's loads and loads of sort of techniques in here, and talk about all those different techniques, which, to be honest, I don't really need to look at that, because I've got loads of books with that kind of thing in, and it's stuff that I already know that. But some of the designs are beautiful. I mean, look at that. How gorgeous is that? It is beautiful. The illustrations in here are really lovely. But you know, I'll be honest, I'm not the talent. There's another one there. Look at that. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Beautifully illustrated. There's, you know, a section on essential skills for dress construction. So she talks about easing in sleeves, making buttonholes, sewing, bias, tape, etc, etc. So there's lots and lots of different things in there. There's a section on fitting as well. So it's quite comprehensive. But as I say, I bought this mainly for the patterns, and looking through the patterns, there's a couple that I really am drawn to. The first one is this one. Now it looks fairly plain from the front. It's got sort of a gently A-line sweeping skirt and a gathered neckline. But actually, when you look at this dress from the back, it's got a crossover back detail, which I really quite like. So I am definitely going to have a go at this. I think in a really nice cotton lawn, that will look really lovely for spring and summer. They're not all big flouncy dresses. There's some fitted ones. There's a lovely fitted one there. I mean, Gertie's just gorgeous, isn't she? She really is. That's the back of that one. And then there's one called the popover dress, and that was actually the one that I saw that I really wanted to buy this book for. Oh no, this is the one that I've just shown you, but in a different fabric. So this is just gorgeous, and that's the back of it there. I just think that's so beautiful. Yeah, so this is it here. It's the one that's on the front of the actual book, so it's called the popover dress. And it's essentially two pattern pieces sewn together, but you can create your own little details with it. She's got like a little tie on the neckline there. It does have nice pockets in as well, and if I should show you another one, she's done another version here with waistline shirring, and it's cut on the bias. So she talks through different techniques in how you can really alter the style of the dress depending on what you like. So yeah, really like this book. If you're into sort of the vintage style, I definitely recommend it. I can't obviously recommend the patterns yet, I haven't sewn one up. There's a lot of debate out there, if you read it, about Gertie's patterns. I think some of them, a lot of people have had a lot of difficulty with regards to fitting issues. But again, I think that depends on your body type. I'll be honest, I haven't sewn a Gertie pattern before, so I don't know how the fit and the drafting will fit me, but I am going to have a go at those two patterns. So when I do, I will film it and let you know what I think. But yeah, definitely for the actual style. I think this cost about £20. I got it from Amazon. It's only just been released, so if that's something you're interested in, then go and have a look. Right, I'm just going to change the battery because I'm about to run out, so I'll be back in a tick. I've been quite taken at the minute by some of the Nanny Iro fabrics, and there's quite a few, there's a few sewing shops that are both online and in person that sell these fabrics, and one of them, I think what really struck me was when I went to Ray Stitch in London back in early May, and yeah, some of those fabrics are just amazing, but they're so lovely and so airy because they're mostly double gauze for spring and summer. They're just absolutely perfect. But you know, they're quite expensive. They're sort of £22 a metre. And I knew of a Japanese seller who sells on Etsy called Miss Matatabi. There's quite a few of some of the old, I'm calling them old, and they're not old, but the older sort of sewing bloggers and vloggers that used to talk about them a lot on their blogs back in the day. And yeah, they used to get quite a lot of fabric from her. She's based in Japan, but apparently she's very, her customer service is incredible, super quick. And I had a little browse on Etsy a couple of weeks ago at her site, and yeah, some of her fabrics are incredible, and they are so much cheaper than buying them in the UK. Now, I thought I'll just take a chance on this and see what happens, because obviously we have to think about import taxes and VAT and all that kind of malarkey, and I thought, is this just going to cost me a fortune, and would I have been better off buying it in the UK? But I thought I'd share my experience with you. So I purchased 2 fabrics from her. They're both Nanny Iro double gauzes, and the first one is this, which is this gorgeous blue and white, sort of like paint splash cotton with the orange, bright orange dots on. It is stunning. If I just come back, I don't know if you can see it. It looks, do you know what, it's so much nicer in real life, but it's so pretty. I bought 1.5 meters of this, okay, and so if I'd have bought that in the UK, it would have been £33 for that piece, okay, it's a lot of money. And the second piece that I bought from her is this one, which is this lovely pink with gorgeous flowers on. You see that? Bring it in closer so you can just see the print a bit better. So, so beautiful. And again, I got 1.5 meters of this as well. And so those 2 pieces together, if I'd have bought them from the UK, would have cost £66. That's just scary, isn't it? And through Miss Matatabi, it cost me £42, and that included delivery. Now, as soon as I'd ordered, I got an email within hours saying they'd been dispatched and there would be 6 to 10 days. And I was waiting to get the card from the post office that said we've got a customs charge parcel for you and you need to pay us £28 or whatever. And I didn't. They turned up 6 days later as promised. No issues whatsoever. So yeah, I really can't complain at that at all. So if you do like those fabrics, I really would recommend that you just go and have a look and check them out, because I'm all for trying to save you guys a bit of money if I can. Okay, so that's it really from me today. I am going to now go and get ready to hop off to work again this afternoon. But I'm hoping to be back later this week with the second part of my Demystifying Birder magazines series for you, where I will create that top and you can watch me do that. So I hope you'll tune in for that. And as always, I hope whatever you're doing and whatever you're up to, you are having a fantastic weekend, and I'll be back with you really soon. Take care, bye.